Ladies and gentlemen, today's color guard has been provided by the U.S. Marines Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 25th Regiment. All rise for the presentation of colors. Chaplain Greg Peters, 3rd Battalion, 25th Marine Regiment, will now give the invocation.
Please join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, strong to save, we're honored to be here today on this Friday before Armed Forces Day. We take this morning to recognize the over 30-year history of Mil Vets of Ohio and their unwavering commitment to future, current, and veteran service members. We take this opportunity to recognize the 242-year history of the United States Marine Corps and the part each Marine has played in our nation's history. And we take this moment to acknowledge that we still need these two organizations to continue their diligent efforts. Father, it is evident to us all that we live in a world that still needs our warriors, and our warriors live in a world where the members of Mil Vets remain dedicated to their support. This morning, we endeavor to bring honor to you, to all military members who serve and have served, and to the men and women of the Military Veterans of Ohio. Amen.
The Greater Columbus Band and Udo Mosher now perform our national anthem.
Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched, where so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing. Kevin Richter, Commandant Marine Corps League, Bella Wood Detachment 508, will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Retire the colors.
Carry. Color. Ready, cut. Order. Color. Ready, cut.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Mil Vets, welcome to the 2018 Armed Forces Day Luncheon. Thank you for coming together to honor our Armed Forces today. This is actually the 32nd luncheon that Mil Vets has hosted for the Greater Columbus veterans and military community. Each year we focus on one specific branch of the service for additional recognition, and this year, against my better judgment, we chose the Marines. I might have been a little biased, seeing as how I was Army, So, but we had to pick somebody, and they look pretty, so we went with them. Before I introduce our guest speaker, or our MC today, he also is a Marine. He also looks pretty in uniform. However, Zane Jones does a lot more than just that. He is a veteran and disability advocate. He currently serves as the Veteran Services Coordinator and ADA Coordinator for the City of Columbus. He also serves in the Marine Forces Reserves as a Logistics Officer for the 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines in Brook Park, Ohio. He's been there since 2013. Originally from Delaware. Where's my Delaware people? He is a graduate of the College of Worcester and Fisher College of Business at the Ohio State University. And he and his wife Hannah reside in Clintonville. Please give a warm welcome to our fabulous MC, Zane Jones.
All right, good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Good. Good to hear. Thank you very much for attending this, the 32nd Armed Forces Day Luncheon. This being my first year in attendance, I want to thank MilVets. I know the table's over there, but they're floating around all over the place for the honor of serving as Master of Ceremonies. But before I introduce all of our distinguished guests and get this show on the road, if you indulge me, which I suppose you have to because I have the microphone, I was looking around this room at all your wonderful faces and realized something, that this is quite the high-pressure situation for me, personally. Not only are there a lot of high-ranking and distinguished people throughout the entire room, but as I look around, I see a few people in particular. The first, who I know is floating around here, but I haven't seen her in the last few minutes, is my boss at the city, Nicole Brandon. And as I look down here and scroll my eyes across the main table, I see the Lieutenant Colonel Mike McCarthy, my battalion commander. Hopefully they don't meet. I won't. And if that weren't enough, if we could tack on anything else, my wife Hannah is sitting over there with my mother and father, Fred and Mona Jones. So all that to say, if I mess this up, it's going to be more than my fit rep that's adverse. It's going to be a morning, noon, and night situation. The month of May is full of moments and occasions for us to reflect and pay tribute to our nation's military and those citizens who have made the choice to take up the profession of arms. Tomorrow is Armed Forces Day, which we choose to honor and pay tribute to our unified military and those currently serving in the armed forces. And in just over a week is Memorial Day, where we will commemorate those whose life was sacrificed in service to their nation. In his memoir, Helmet for My Pillow, Robert Leckie, a Marine infantryman, was reflecting on his time in the Pacific and had the following to say when he asked what he got out of it, which is sort of an odd question. And he said this: "For myself, a memory and the strength of an ordeal sustained. For my son, a priceless heritage. And for my country, sacrifice. And the last being sacrifice being enough for all. It's sacrifice that men go to war, men and women, to risk their flesh, to insert their precious persons in the path of destruction, and it is sacrifice that answers the interminable argument of peace and war. And ultimately, we gather on moments like this to commemorate the service of those in uniform and the sacrifices they make. We understand that it is tangible, that it is measurable, and it is always hard-earned. It's with that in mind that earlier, on behalf of the city, I was proud to present MilVets with a proclamation signed by Mayor Ginther recognizing the occasion of outstanding significance, and it joins two other documents on display here today, somewhere. The Franklin County Commissioners issued a proclamation, and also Governor Kasich provided recognition of MilVets' long-standing support to the military in Central Ohio. Okay, at this time I would like to recognize those sitting at the head table. Please hold your applause till the end. The first is Mark Brown, Acquisition Executive for DLA Land and Maritime at DSCC. Mark Capone, the Assistant Director of the Ohio Department of Veterans Services. Colonel James Camp, the Assistant Adjutant General for the Air Force, Ohio National Guard. Steve Alsop, the Deputy Commander of DLA Land and Maritime at DSCC. Lieutenant Commander Paula Buer, somewhere elsewhere. Executive Commander of the NOSC. Commander James Powdy, United States Navy, also at the NOSC. Lieutenant Colonel Michael McCarthy, United States Marine Corps, the CEO of 3rd Battalion, 25th Marine Regiment, which I hear is a bang-up unit. Great outfit. Fit reps in October, right, sir? Good to go. Judge Baldwin, 5th District Court of Appeals. Justice DeWine, Supreme Court Justice. Justice Kennedy. And then I saw Ron O'Brien, Franklin County Prosecutor. Dave Yost is ill. He passes his regrets he could not be here today. And then Colonel Jess Suver, J3, Ohio State Army National Guard. Rosser. And then before I get to the side tables, I think I did see the mayor of Groveport here, Mayor Westcamp. And sitting next to you is Mike Perella, right? Give him a round of applause real quick for Mike Perella. Six air medals, and this is my favorite part, one more takeoff than landing. So, not everybody's perfect, Mike. And then at the left table, we have Pete Zaretic, who's the scholarship chairman, and Ben Davis, the president of MilVets. And then at the right table, also from 325, we have Chaplain Peters, Lieutenant Commander Peters from 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines, and his wife, Gail. Thank you both for coming. Let's give them all a round of applause. MilVets would also like to recognize all of the elected officials that are here tonight. So if you are an elected official, take a deep breath, stand up, and so you can be recognized. And there is, of course, another very important acknowledgement that we make today. So I would like to invite Chaplain Peters to please give the recognition for POW and MIA.
Here behind me is a place setting for one, indicating that one of our comrades is missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us this afternoon, but we remember them. This table, set for one, is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single red rose displayed reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrade in arms who keep the faith, waiting their return. The red ribbon tied prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn upon the lapel of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. The candle is lit, symbolizing the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. There is salt on the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. The chair is empty. They're not here. Remember, until the day they come home, please remember.
Will all prisoners of war please stand to be recognized? Thank you, Chaplain. At this time, we would also like to thank and honor and ask our Gold Star families to stand and be recognized. And I know with absolute certainty that I speak for everyone in this room when I say thank you very much for your hard-earned sacrifice. Let's give them another round of applause. The wonderful staff at Villa Milano have prepared a lovely meal for us today. So as they distribute the food, I ask that you just please enjoy your meal. The Military Veterans Educational Foundation, better known as MilVets, has many professional members, and they reach into every segment of society to help those that have served and are now currently serving. It is indeed an honor to be a part of a great organization, led by our President, Ben Davis, sitting right here before me, and Vice President Pete Zaretic, sitting next to him. Would the MilVets trustees and associate trustees please stand? And of course, we would also like to thank all of the volunteers who are here and made this event possible. So let's just give them another round of applause, too. My goal is to have your hands fall off from clapping before your food arrives. All right, at this time, we would like to recognize our corporate sponsors. The Scholarship MilVets Awards, this luncheon, and the Veterans Day Parade, which is in November, would not be possible without the support from the Central Ohio community. So please hold your applause till the end, but when your table is recognized, please stand so that we can see all of you. And there are a lot, so bear with me. 21st Century Financial, Ohio Legion Department of Ohio, American Legion Department of Ohio, Chase, Columbus State Community College, Dr. Ernest and Mary Carducci and family, Fast Signs of Columbus, Franklin County Engineer, Cornell Robertson, Huntington National Bank, Mann and Carducci, LPA, the Marine Corps League, Bellawood Detachment, Semper Fidelis, Meyer, Mott's Military Museum, Nationwide, PME. You're all supposed to remain standing. Yeah. You're running a big crescendo. PNC, Richard Cordray, Congressman Steve Stivers, the USO of Central and Southern Ohio, the VFW Department of Ohio and VFW Ohio Charities, and the Worthington AM Rotary. Please join me in recognizing these valued partners and strong supporters of the military. Okay, and now I have the distinct honor of introducing someone who I had the pleasure of spending the last 4 days with. We do this every Friday. We work 4 days and then have a big dinner like this every Friday, right, sir? Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel McCarthy is the commanding officer of 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines, 4th Marine Division. He is a graduate of the University of Dayton, Case Western Reserve University of Law, and the Marine Corps Command and Staff College. In his civilian life, located here in Columbus, Lieutenant Colonel McCarthy is an attorney and the executive director of Operation Legal Help Ohio, an organization that provides legal assistance to veterans. He and his wife, Dr. Brittany McCarthy, live here in Columbus, Ohio with their 2 children. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Michael McCarthy.
Zane, thank you very much. You couldn't have done any better. You keep your job for another day. I do appreciate it. Also, what he did a very good job is by introducing everybody who's here, so I don't have to. I'm really going to try hard not to screw it up. So, in general, to all the senior military officers, to all the senior elected officials, veterans, Gold Star families, families of veterans, and most importantly today, the men and women of the United States Armed Forces who are representative of the entire U.S. Armed Forces here today. I wish all of you a very happy Armed Forces Day, a day early. So when Pete Zaretic called me a couple weeks ago asking if I'd be willing to serve as the keynote speaker today, after a couple of obligatory jokes about really having scraped the bottom of the barrel, I asked him what sort of speech he was looking for, and he was very clear. He said short. And that, I think, is something I can handle. So that's my promise to you as I begin with, is that this will not be a particularly long speech. I did ask him seriously. So what? This is my first time at the event, like Zane. What do people normally do? And he tells me that normally the other services have sent a general officer, someone wearing stars on their collars, to talk about what the services are doing today and really what the future looks like for the armed services. So having received my orders, like any good Marine, I saluted, marched out smartly, and got to work. Tried to figure out what the big picture things that you guys would be interested in hearing about today. What's the future of our Marine Corps? I found out all sorts of interesting things. Some of this stuff I didn't, actually a lot of this stuff I didn't know. I found out about the F-35, which is this amazing airplane that's going to change the way we fight. It's going to replace the F-18 and the Harrier. But then I remembered that I'm not a pilot, and I can't really talk all that intelligently about a fighter airplane, so I'm not gonna. I learned about the amphibious combat vehicle down there in the bottom. That's going to replace the amphibious assault vehicle that every Marine in this room knows very well. And again, it's going to change the way we fight. It's faster, it's better in every way. The AAV has been in service since 1972 continuously. To put a kind of frame of reference, the COMDOW in the Marine Corps didn't come into the Marine Corps until 1975, so it's probably time for a new piece of gear. We're going to get that as well. All these other pictures are cool whiz-bang things we're going to get in the next 20 years. We don't really have any of them yet, though. And then I realized that I could go on and on talking about these sort of things that I, frankly, don't really know all that much about. And I thought that to give you an authentic speech, the kind of speech you'd actually want to listen to while you're eating your lunch, I should probably talk about what I really do know, and that's, as a currently serving lieutenant colonel and an infantry battalion commander, what I know about is the Marine Corps primarily of the last 20 years, and what I know a whole lot about is the Marine Corps of today and what your Marines are doing day to day. So if it's okay with you, that's what I'm going to talk with you about for the next few minutes. In many ways, and probably the most important ways, the Marines of today are just like everybody else serving in uniform today, represented so well here by folks in uniform around the room. Everybody who's serving today either joined or re-enlisted into a military in time of war, and that's a pretty unique thing. Everybody here knows exactly what they're getting into, and they choose to serve. Like the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen they serve alongside, today's Marines are true patriots, motivated to serve by a love of their country and a commitment to their fellow citizens. No matter what color your uniform is, we all take the same oath to protect and defend the Constitution. That connection is what crosses service lines and overcomes all the petty rivalries that we joke about as soon as the shooting starts. We'll make jokes about it in a room like this, but when the shooting starts, we're all on the same team. And for that, each one of you who's in service today should be intensely proud of your service. I can tell you that I'm pretty intensely proud of my own, so thank you for that. But it wouldn't be a very interesting speech if I just talked about the things that made us the same, so I'm going to talk to you about a few of the things that make us different than the other services, and there are probably a lot of jokes there that I'm just going to not let the rest of you tell because now I have the microphone. Most of you probably know that the Marine Corps is the smallest of the armed services. We've got about 180,000 Marines on active duty and another 40,000 in the reserve. Even when you add that up, we are significantly smaller than all of the other armed services. Our brothers and sisters in the Total Force Army with the regular Army, the Army Guard, and the Army Reserve, it's more like 1 million. So we're about a quarter of the size of the Army. We are also younger on average than the other services. The Marine Corps is primarily a first-term force, meaning that the average Marine joins, serves one enlistment, 4 years, and gets out and goes on and does something else. Consequently, 66% of the Marine Corps is 25 or younger. A full quarter of the Marine Corps is under 21. Can't even buy a beer, which is an interesting challenge for leadership. I'm not saying they don't, I'm saying they're not supposed to. Not surprisingly, kind of the same line of math here, we are substantially comprised more of junior Marines than the other services. A full 40% of the Marine Corps are Lance Corporals and below. And for anybody who served with Lance Corporals, you probably get an idea what kind of trouble that causes. But the other services are more like 20% E3 and below. So we are, if you think about the manpower of the Marine Corps as a big pyramid, we are very wide at the base and very narrow at the top. The Marine Corps, really about 10 enlisted Marines for every officer. So compare that to the Air Force where it's more like 4 to 1. We do look a lot different than the other services. We're forward deployed, and I'm going to get to that here in a few seconds. Though the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq have drawn down considerably, our op tempo hasn't slowed very much. We're really still just about as busy as we were during the peak of that. On any given day, about 20% of your Marine Corps is forward deployed, away from their homes and families, protecting our vital national interests abroad, either on land or from the sea. And the stat that everyone loves to talk about, at least in the Marine Corps, is we are a bargain. We do everything we do for about 4% of the overall DoD budget. 4%. So, I get an unclassified brief every week from Headquarters Marine Corps that shows what the Marine Corps is doing on a given week. And those pins show broad areas, specifically where people are obviously as classified. None of this is. But it's going to give you an idea of the number of things that we're doing every day, what your Marines are out doing on behalf of our country. So I pulled these slides from May 14th. That's this week's brief. There is nothing unusual about this week. This is steady state operations for what the Marine Corps is doing. On this day, on May 14th, we had 34,000 Marines forward deployed in 73 countries around the globe. We were involved in 34 named operations, 1 amphibious operation, 7 major exercises, and 20 different theater support or theater security cooperation exercises around the world, all happening every day while you wake up and go to sleep. The Marine Corps has 7 standing Marine Expeditionary Units, and a Marine Expeditionary Unit, or MU, is kind of unique among the other services. It is a combined unit that combines air power, land power, and logistics in a command element to really form a pretty competent fighting force. We've got 7 of them standing. 3 are on the East Coast, 3 are on the West Coast, and 1's in the Pacific, or that's where their home base is. MUs, as they're called, really are America's 911 force. They're each floating on 3 Navy ships, and they're just floating around waiting for something to go wrong and ready to respond to any crisis that pops up. And they come with enough combat power to go ashore and enough aviation and logistics support to operate for 30 days without resupply. That's enough to either get the job done or to bring in the rest of the DoD behind us on a beach or on an airfield. It is a significant piece of what the country brings to crisis response every day. So, taking that big map that showed you the whole world, just delving into the specifics of what's going on in each of the theaters. In CENTCOM, United States Central Command, that's what people are thinking about is going on. And yes, we still have lots of Marines in Iraq, and we still have lots of Marines in Afghanistan. We are participating in Operation Inherent Resolve with Special Purpose MAGTF, which is basically the same thing as a MU, but without the ships in Iraq. We've got folks in the MU floating around the Red Sea and in the North Arabian Gulf. Their specific location is obviously not publishable. We continue to have Marines in Afghanistan supporting the Afghan National Army, as well as coalition forces who are doing the bulk of the fighting in Afghanistan today. We've got folks in the country of Jordan helping to build their capacity. We're doing all sorts of things. The range of operations from combat to training we're doing every day in CENTCOM. Go to the next slide. Pacific Command. Obviously, everyone knows the Marine Corps has pretty significant roots in the Pacific. We've got a long storied history, well-earned reputation for what we did in the Pacific, particularly in World War II, but even on into Korea and to Vietnam. We've got a pretty proud heritage that we have not given up. At any given time today, let's see, what was it today? Comes off the bottom of the slide. Today we had 23,400 Marines west of the international date line. When you think about what a percentage, that's a quarter of the operating force of the Marine Corps is west of the international date line at any given time. We are forward deployed. Got a lot of Marines in Korea. A bunch of Marines just left Korea completing a big exercise. We've still got another 300 Marines and a fighter squadron there just in case things go bad. We've got folks down in Australia. Again, most of these are doing what we call theater security cooperation, just getting to know the locals, but they're there just in case when the country calls. We've got folks in the Philippines. We always have a large number of people based in and around Okinawa, and that's the green box there at the end. what I wanted to get across, though, is just the scope. 23,400 Marines at any given time in the west of the international date line. Go to the next slide. This is the one that always surprises people. Though there aren't a bunch of little boxes, there really are a bunch of little boxes. We have Marines all over the continent of Africa every day. They're doing what we call Phase Zero work. Phase Zero work is trying to prevent bad stuff from happening, and they're friend-making and they're coalition building, really trying to prevent places that terrorists could use to attack us in the future. And that goes on every day, steady state. We've got folks in Uganda, we've got folks in the Central African Republic, in Gabon, in places that some of you probably don't know where they are on the map. They always say that the war is the way that God remembers to teach Americans geography, but there's certainly a few that I have to remind myself when I look up there. You go to the next slide. Marines are all over Europe as well, though probably not anywhere near as much as our brothers and sisters in the Air Force and the Army and the Navy, but we've got Marines in Norway, in Finland, Lithuania, Romania, Georgia, Italy, Turkey, and Israel, all just going on every day. These Marines are conducting the traditional mission, the NATO mission of countering Russian influence in the region. The Cold War may be over, but the threat is not gone, and that's the kind of stuff our Marines are doing every day. One more. U.S. Southern Command. We've got a lot of Marines in Central America as well. Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama. Again, doing that sort of Phase Zero kind of work, trying to make friends, make sure we know who's in our backyard, and to prevent dark corners from which terrorists could operate. And that's what your Marine Corps is doing every day. So, what's this mean to all of you? Why is this important, and why is it worth sitting here at a lunch listening to it? What's a Marine to the Marines that are in this room today? Every one of them has either deployed or is getting ready to deploy. That is every person in the Marine Corps represented by a couple of Marines here. These guys have all already deployed, but it won't be their last, I promise. That's the nature of our Marine Corps. We're forward deployed, and we're always out doing what America needs us to. We don't have a major Marine Corps base in Ohio, so the Marines that are here today are primarily in the supporting establishment today for this assignment. They're recruiters, they're Marine officer instructors from Ohio State, they're Marines from the site support staffs that help to train Reserve Marines. It's not always glamorous, but I can tell you they have a very difficult and very important job. Let me talk about recruiters for a second. I don't know if we have any recruiters in the room today, but if they owe me a beer if they don't. If we don't. So earlier we talked about that pyramid that's the manpower of our Marine Corps. Those first-term folks, those quarter of the Marine Corps that are under 25, those all have to be recruited every day from cities and towns, small and large, across the country. They're helped by Marine recruiters to begin their journey to becoming U.S. Marines, and they need your help, and I'll get to that again in a second. The other group of Marines represented here today are the active duty Marines assigned to Company L, 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines, the battalion that I'm privileged to command. You've heard about it a few times here tonight already. The Marine Corps Reserve today is far different than the Marine Corps Reserve of 30 years ago. 30 years ago, the question was, will a Marine Corps Reserve battalion ever get mobilized? And I can tell you today that is simply a question of when and which battalion's turn it is to do it. Many of the operations and exercises you saw were being conducted by Reserve Marines, and you can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference on a slide. You can't tell the difference in person. The Marines show up, and they plug and play with any other unit, just a different number at the end of their unit designation. So we expect that to continue and to grow in the next year. As the operational demands continue to increase, there's only so many people to go around. So even here in our own company, we've got Lima Company here in Columbus is about a year away from a major exercise that will certify them and the whole battalion as the Marine Corps Reserve's Ready Battalion. Now, we don't really know what that means yet, but we will be, about a year from now, the crisis response force for the Marine Corps Reserve and the first out the door if something happens. Like I said, I don't know what it means for absolute certainty yet, except that I can tell you with absolute certainty as their battalion commander, your Marines from here in Columbus will be ready to go when the nation calls. So I got taught early on, when you get an opportunity to speak to a group like this and this many people, never to leave without a call to action. So here's the ask. Marine Corps needs to bring in about 40,000 new recruits every year. And it's not just a numbers game. We need 40,000 young men and women with both the desire and the ability to become U.S. Marines. Our recruiters are outstanding. They do amazing work, but they need your help. Studies continue to show that young people today are less inclined towards military service than in previous generations. I don't know why that is, it just is. Kids today, and kids of every era, learn from the example of the adults that they know and they respect. And that's the folks here in the audience today. So be a mentor, be a coach. Help to instill the values of service to the kids you encounter in your day-to-day lives. Some of them, if we do it right, will choose to help to defend our country. We really do three things in the Marine Corps. First, and most importantly maybe, is we make Marines. That's the finding, the recruiting, the inculcating our values and training of some of America's best people to become U.S. Marines. Second, we win battles. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, they are really America's war-winning force. Our focus in the Marine Corps, because we are small, we are light, is on winning battles. And very typically, that's the first battles in a conflict that our nation fights. And third, we return responsible citizens to their community. You see that in this room today. You see that in this table full of Red Jackets in the Marine Corps League and a whole lot of folks that they represent. Our turnover is high. We are a first-term force by design. We want to have folks come for 4 years and then go back home. That is to the benefit of the communities around the country that receive back our men and women better trained, better educated, and with a sense of values that will serve their communities well as they go on to adulthood and whatever's next in their lives. So, ladies and gentlemen, our motto, most of you know, is Semper Fidelis, and I think it says it all. It means always faithful. That's what your Marines and sailors who serve with us aspire to be. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, and thank you for your support to America's Armed Forces.
Sir, on behalf of the MilVets organization, I understand not only do Marines drink beer, they also drink coffee on occasion. As a form of remembrance, we'd like to present you with a cup signifying this day as our guest.
Well, thank you very much. I do drink a lot of coffee.
Thank you, sir. And if I can have Commandant of the Marine Corps League, Kevin Ryder, come up, please. Got tight quarters up here. A couple of years ago, the Marine Corps League lost a good friend, an old breed Marine by the name of George Pito. He died just a couple of years ago after having served 4 campaigns in the Pacific in World War II. He had quite a story to tell, and the fortunate thing was a good friend of mine, a retired Navy chief, was able to capture that story in a book called 22 at Peleliu. And that is because he turned 22 the day he landed on Peleliu. So, Colonel, on behalf of the Marine Corps League, we'd like to offer you a signed copy of the book 22 at Peleliu.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. At MilVets, most of you know that education is in our middle name. Supporting the next generation with scholarships is core to what we do. To tell us about this year's scholarship recipients, please welcome our scholarship chairman and vice president, Pete Zaretic.
Thanks, Zane. Thank you, Zane. Hey, I'd like to give a little backstory about our guest speaker. We actually sent a letter in December through Congress to the Commandant requesting a speaker. And in great fashion, the Marine Corps sent us, instead of a general officer, a lieutenant colonel to give the speech. So, hey, my hat's off to you. Well done. You filled the shoes of a general officer as a lieutenant colonel. Thank you, sir. The Military Scholarship Foundation, MilVets, purpose is to promote patriotism, by conducting and sponsoring public discussions, parades, and banquets like today, and similar events to create and maintain an awareness on the needs of a strong national defense. MilVets also provides Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps scholarships and Reserve Officer Training Corps cadet scholarships at the college and high school level, and also to veterans and their family members. My name's Pete Zaretic. I'm the MilVets Vice President and Scholarship Chairperson, and it's with great pleasure to recognize and announce the 2018 high school and college scholarship recipients. So if I could have Cadet Kristen Tully front and center, and Cadet Connor Malloy. For over 32 years, MilVets has been a nonprofit organization. Through generous donations, MilVets scholarship programs have partnered with a number of local businesses, which were acknowledged here earlier. These scholarships are generated from the funds that are donated. And what I'd like to do is recognize particular folks and their organizations, and if you would come down for a photo op with our two scholarship recipients. Ben Davis will present the presentations, and if parents have cameras, please come down. I'd also like to invite the military instructors who are responsible for developing our future leaders. So first, if Tom Burke from Ohio Veterans Foundation could please come down. Chuck Persh from Chase. Jason Dominguez, former Marine, always a Marine from Nationwide. Stanley Pleasant, American Legion. Mark Thompson from Huntington. Please come down and stand next to our recipients. Andrew Tompkins from PNC. Matt Rear from Myers. If I can have Colonel Pfaff, please come down from Westland High School. Ben Klepek and Master Sergeant Gibson and Lieutenant Colonel Annaball, please come down. Cadet Kristen Tully, Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, Westland High School. Her skipper is Colonel James Pfaff, commanding. Cadet Tully is graduating senior with 4 years of JROTC experience. That's hard to find in a kid. 4 years. She earned a 3.34 GPA. She served as a cadet commander, and she received 3 national awards and has been selected as the top performer by Headquarters Air Force ROTC. It's with great pleasure that MilVets presents you with the 2018 Armed Forces Day Scholarship Award. Cadet Connor Malloy, Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps, The Ohio State University. Captain Brett Coffey is commanding. Cadet Malloy is a sophomore and he's studying aviation engineering. He has a 3.33 GPA. It's a similar academics that I studied, and it's a pretty challenging course. Like me, he wants to be a naval aviator and an officer in the Navy. Cadet Connor Malloy, congratulations, 2018 Armed Forces Day MilVets Scholarship. We had 3 other recipients not present, all from Ohio State. And the reason they're not here is one was in California already on orders for Cortramed, and 2 others working summer jobs or already had orders in other states pursuing additional education through the ROTC program. Cadet Catherine Bennett, Air Force ROTC at Ohio State. Cadet Nolan Hart, Air Force ROTC, Ohio State. And Colleen Maloney, Naval ROTC, Ohio State. Congratulations to those 3. We'll forward the checks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our 2018 Armed Forces Day Scholarship recipients and the sponsors who make this happen and the military instructors who guide these young individuals to be our future leaders. Thank you very much. Next, if I can have Ben Davis, the MilVets president, front and center.
Good afternoon. This is Ben Davis, MilVets. And before I let Zane get off the stage here, I have something I would like to present to him. This is a dedicated mug, so you can kind of mimic what your commander has over there. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yep. The next part of the program, we have 3 awards that MilVets presents each year. I'll start off with the Heritage Award. It's presented to a person in our community who demonstrates strong and continued support for the military and the veterans in our community. This year's honoree is Chase. And if Chase representative would like to please come up, 1, 2, maybe the whole group, that'd be fine. But I'm not sure if any of you guys know, but Chase does a lot of stuff in the veteran community, as well as the military. And I think this is a good earned award for them, and it's appreciation for them as well. There you go, Tony.
Thanks, Ben.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tony. The next award is our Trustee Award. This is presented each year to a person who works very hard to support and promote MilVets. As most of you know, MilVets is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization that relies on the donated time, expertise, and money of those from the military, veteran, civilian, and corporate communities. This year's recipient, I'm not sure where she went, but it's Carrie. Carrie is also the chair of the Armed Forces Day Luncheon. So she's running around. That's her job. No, come on up.
Oh, thanks, sweetie.
And Carrie's done a great job. If you want to have something to say, you can. If not, just wait for your turn next time.
I just want to say that my Crocs are patriotic because there's a little, well, somewhat partisan little thing on the front.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. The last award, I need to correct myself. Sometimes we don't give this reward out. But as a committee, we try to look for an individual or organization that provides and dedicate themselves to the service of others. Considering Jake being a co-founder of MilVets, was a take charge individual dividing his volunteer hours between social organizations. This year's recipient, the president and general manager of the Columbus Clippers. They have a number of events working with veterans and military days, mainly like the American Legion. I don't have a number, but I'm sure they probably provide a few hundred, maybe. They're very generous. And Ken Schnacky is his name, and I would like for him to come up and accept this award. And also why he's coming up, he was introduced into the International League Hall of Fame this year, the baseball. And he's, under his term, they've won, let's see, eight Governor Cups, 10 Governor Cups, and they've been to the playoffs 18 times? 20. I'm just checking to see if he knows, that's all. But anyways, we greatly appreciate his efforts and his organization. And I thought I heard that he was retiring. Wrong. See that? So, but in any case, he's here today to accept this award. We greatly appreciate it, Ken.
I want to thank you, but however, in your introduction, you are 0 for 3, so I do not need you in the starting lineup tonight. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, we're going to do the service songs. When your branch song is played, you stand in recognition.
And sing along. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Sound of the cannon, loud and strong, 2, 3, over here we go. You'll always know that the army goes rolling along. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battle in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor and peace. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to College Line, we sail and break of day. Go on a line of shore, straight to the pole, until we meet once more. Is this to a happy voyage home? We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. God send the storm and howling gale, I shall on purpose be. Send farewell, this is our cry, our fame, our glory too. To fight to save or fight and die, like those God we are for you. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, so we can beat our thunder, and boys, give it a gun. Down we dive, smelling a flame from under. Off with one, till the roar. We live in fame, or go down in flame. Nothing can stop the USA force. Go Navy, beat Army.
Great job, band and Udo. Thank you. Can we give them another applause, please? And if not mistaken, there is 1 or 2 veterans over there in the band. Raise your hand or stand up. There we go. Thank you. Oh, there's a few of them. All right, thank you. And at this time, we have the USO Awards, and I'd like to introduce Sherry Elms, the Executive Director of Central Ohio and Southern Ohio.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben. And we want to say a thank you to Milvets for inviting us to come here every year. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be able to present these awards. Before I get started, I'm going to surprise him. Chuck Persh, would you mind joining me on stage to help distribute these awards? Chuck Persh from Chase Bank is also one of our board of directors, and so since he's one of my bosses, I thought maybe I should kind of get him involved a little bit. Again, it is our honor to be able to present these awards. So we're going to start out with our first award, and this is right in my face. I hope you can still hear me. Our first award goes to Sergeant First Class Brian Bailey. Brian, would you like to join us on stage? And while you come up here, we'll read a little bit about his bio. Sergeant Bailey graduated from Batavia High School in 1998 and enlisted in the U.S. Army as a cavalry scout in September 2000. He has 3 combat deployments totaling 37 months in country for operations in both Iraq and Afghanistan. His first deployment was with the 172nd Stryker Brigade, totaling 16 months. He also deployed with the 25th ID to Iraq and 3rd ID to Afghanistan as the senior scout for his cavalry units. Sergeant Bailey served as a senior mountaineering instructor in Alaska, where he maintained a graduation rate for his students above 93% and helped train the 5th RTB as assault climbers. He was selected to represent U.S. Army Alaska at the AUSA conference in 2012 by presenting the importance of mountain and Arctic warfare. In 2015, Sergeant Bailey mentored 2 of his soldiers to graduate top shot and second top shot at the Army Sniper School for their class, who also competed in the International Sniper Competition representing 3ID. Currently, he represents the U.S. Army as an Army recruiter in the greater Cincinnati area, which is where I'm from, so that's special. Sergeant Bailey is attending the classes at the University of Cincinnati toward his bachelor's degree and maintains a GPA of 3.85. Please join me in congratulating Sergeant Bailey.
You guys got that right.
Our next honoree is Staff Sergeant Earl Clark. During the year, Staff Sergeant Clark was directly responsible for conducting cold weather training and practical application for the company, resulting in 0 climate-related injuries during the unit's 14-day Arctic field exercise. During exercise Shared Accord, Staff Sergeant Clark led a platoon for 2 weeks as they independently trained the South African Marines, providing a sterling example of leadership for his junior Marines and for the South Africans. He systematically develops his training plans, ensuring the physical, mental, and morale development of his Marines as individuals and as teams. Staff Sergeant Clark is also actively involved in community relations. He took the lead role in the Columbus Toys for Tots drive, helping collect and distribute over 40,000 toys for children in the local area. He also conducted 12 military funeral honors. Staff Sergeant Clark is currently attending the American Military University and is enrolled in the Bachelor of Environmental Science program, concentrating in fish and wildlife management. Please join me in congratulating Staff Sergeant Clark. Our next honoree is PS2 Debrielle Richardson. PS2 Richardson received the strongest possible commendation from her CO at the Navy Operational Support Center, Columbus. As an active member of the Morale and Welfare Committee, she played an integral part of all successful command missions. In 2017, PS2 Richardson led a very successful annual Family Day event at the NOSC in partnership with the USO. Her demonstrated flexibility, determination, and drive orchestrated a stately, high-level celebration of the nation's appreciation of over 500 reserve and active duty sailors and their families. She has become a trusted agent for the relatively new CO who relies on her for the most critical duties, a trait that is typically seen with sailors more senior than PS2 Richardson. She is the key figure for all administrative programs and adheres to the highest standards of support for her fellow sailors. Because of her impressive knowledge of the Reserve Pay Program and her ability to train others, the NOSC Columbus Personnel Department services over 500 reservists with only 4 staff, while other NOSCs require a much larger team. She is an excellent communicator, extremely self-confident, and has an astute awareness of the scope of naval policies and programs. Under her leadership, her subordinates have become a force for excellence. Her sailors have a strong advocate and mentor, and her leadership has benefited from her judgment, knowledge, and wisdom. Please join me in congratulating PS2 Debrielle Richardson. Okay, Staff Sergeant Corey Bishop. Staff Sergeant Corey Bishop currently serves as the logistics planner with the 200th Red Horse Squadron Detachment 1 in Mansfield, Ohio. In this capacity, he tracks the unit's personnel and equipment readiness compliance and determines their eligibility for deployment. He is the unit health monitor and ensures personnel stay current with their medical requirements for mobility. This past fall, his meticulous equipment and logistics preparation capabilities allowed a complete disaster relief bed down set, along with a 26-member team, to be deployed to the Virgin Islands in less than 24 hours after the go order. The $2.1 million equipment set completely filled 2 C-17 aircraft. He not only allowed the 200 Red Horse and Ohio Air National Guard to be the first civil engineer response team when others could not meet the call. He also enabled the Air National Guard civil engineering response throughout the country with his knowledge of equipment and logistics, exceeding all expectations. Please join me in congratulating Staff Sergeant Corey Bishop. And finally, MK2 Roberto Ocasio. Petty Officer Roberto Ocasio is a member of the Coast Guard Port Security, Unit 309 in Port Clinton, Ohio, where he serves as a machinery technician with the primary duty of maintenance and repair of 6 transportable port security boats and mobility equipment assigned to the unit. His collateral duties include Sapper Victim Advocate, Leadership Diversity Advisory Council member, Defense Equal Opportunity Climate Survey Committee member, Vehicle Control Officer, and Lockout Tagout Program. He has been deployed to Joint Task Force Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, since October, where he serves as Unit Vehicle Control Officer, operating at a level well above his pay grade, responsible for the tracking and maintenance of 36 Coast Guard and JTF non-tactical vehicles, and issuance of the more than 115 licenses required by unit personnel to operate motor vehicles on base. He is a mentor with the Royal Rangers Church organization, helping young boys with life development through activities such as basic tool use and teaching basic fundamentals to grow up to become responsible young men. Petty Officer Ocasio assists with fundraising for his church, mission trips, and for the Royal Rangers to help sustain programs such as the Pinewood Derby and Gutter Sailboat Racing teams. Outside of the Coast Guard, Petty Officer Ocasio is a shift manager for Polywine Corporation located in Avon Lake, Ohio. He supervises a shift of 15 to 20 employees and is a champion for the yearly Company United Way campaign, assisting with promoting the campaign in order to get employees involved. In 2017, company personnel donated over $1 million, which made his company one of the largest donating companies in Lorain County, Ohio. And we're very excited to have Petty Officer Ocasio here, who came specifically for this day from Cuba. Please join us in congratulating MK2 Ocasio. Sorry about that. Thank you. And now we're happy to announce our Golden Eagle winner. This Golden Eagle Award goes to an NCO who has a long list of achievements, which includes the Purple Heart, the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, Army Good Conduct Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal, Army Recruiter Badge, Combat Action Badge, and the Draper Armor Leadership Award. We're proud to announce our Golden Eagle winner is Sergeant First Class Brian Bailey. Thank you very much. That's it?
Picture?
Oh, are we good?
All right, let's give him another round of applause. As some of you have seen this afternoon, we have a professional photographer on staff right down here in the front, putting cameras in all your faces throughout the day. So if you thought when she took that picture, man, that was a really good picture, I looked really good just then, I wish I had that picture, they will all be posted on the MilVets Facebook page and their website, which is milvetsohio.org. So go and get it and show it to all your friends. We want to thank you very much for helping us recognize the dedication of our military men and women. We want to thank Lieutenant Colonel Michael McCarthy for taking the time out of his busy schedule to join us for the 2018 Armed Forces Day Luncheon. We want to also thank the Greater Columbus Concert Band, led by Bob Munson. I think they deserve a round of applause. And we also want to thank all of you for your participation in this celebration of freedom. So please stand for the benediction, which is going to be sung by Udo Marosher.
Trinity.
was just fantastic. Thank you, Udo. That concludes our program for today. Thank you very much for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you for the Central Ohio Veterans Day Parade on the 9th of November. Drive safe. Thank you.